Join us at Women of Courage and celebrate the achievements of women. In the upcoming months, I am going to change our format significantly. This year, we will exhaust 3 subjects: breast cancer in black women, voting, and the subjects for black men. Each of these ideas and subjects is essential for the black community. Our survival depends on the health of black women, our willingness to vote, no matter what, and the fortitude and determination of black males to develop. We might as well face it, the survival of any community depends on the mental and physical health of both the female and male. Children need both their father and mothers, and the community needs happy, substantial families to survive. No culture can survive without either. I want you to join me in our discussions. I want women to realize that the survival of their children is the only proof that they ever existed. Think about what I just said. Your children are the only proof that you ever existed on this earth. So when you are careless about your health and die before your time, the survival of your children is greatly reduced because they will be placed in foster care where they can be abused mentally and physically. I want men to join in learning about breast cancer and try to save the lives of their mothers, sisters, aunts, cousins, and grandmothers. I want men to begin to listen to subjects that can greatly improve their lives. I am going to play certain speeches regarding the need to vote. There will be speeches of Obama, Stacey Abrams, and others. I am also going to discuss Shirley Chisholm, Constance Baker Motley. She is the first African American woman to ever become a federal judge. All in all, I hope you will enjoy the new format and be greatly encouraged in your life. Also, thank you for listening and growing with us. Hello, this is the Women of Courage show, and I am Gloria Lee, your host. For the most part, almost all of our broadcasts are dedicated to trying to get men and women to focus their attention to changing their behavior to live a better life. You must understand your change is essential to the well-being and survival of your children. We want children to avoid the profession of prostitution and living a life in prison. When you change, you will see the possibilities available to you. You do not have to continue to live a life that you hate and a life that you are truly ashamed of. Poverty does not have to define you. Let your strength and perseverance define you. You can listen to us at home, in your car, or at work on your lunch hour. It is essential that you get a daily dose of encouragement every day. Just a few minutes a day of listening to us can make learning effortless. You can even listen to us while you're preparing dinner or just as you are about to fall asleep. We want you to fit our broadcast into your day. This is why we put all of our broadcasts on the YouTube channel Touched by the Light Publishing. Our goal is to inspire you to greatness. So give Women of Courage a listen to throughout the week, and please support us by purchasing a book today from our website, touchedbythelight.us. Thank you.
The Republican Party itself is involved in more than a dozen different lawsuits challenging expansions of voting rights across the country. These are lawsuits that the Republican Party has either filed themselves or lawsuits that their, little affiliate organizations have filed, and the National Republican Party has just filed briefs in support of. They have joined into the lawsuit. But nevertheless, that's a lot of legal battles in more than a dozen different states that the Republican Party itself is involved in during an election year, when they need to be kind of focusing all their cash on not losing the White House, the Senate, and not having a horrible blue wave wipe out what few House seats they have left. All things which, by the way, are being predicted. But they've decided that the better way to fight that was to spend their money not promoting candidates or ideas, but to make sure you don't have the right to vote. How pathetic is that, by the way? Let's just talk about that for a second. We have a political party that finds it easier to take away your right to vote than it does to come up with a single good idea to get you to actually support them. That's how shitty the Republican Party is. They would rather just strip away your constitutional rights than have to come up with an actual idea that would make you like them. That's how unlikable they are. That's pathetic. And that is what Republicans are. Republicans are pathetic because this is what they resort to. More than a dozen different lawsuits. So the question is, who's paying the bills? Right? The Republican Party does have their, legal fund, which is separate from their campaign money fund. So who is paying these bills? Luckily, we have wonderful organizations out there like Sludge. Sludge is absolutely one of my favorite sources for independent investigative journalism. And they've gone through the files. They have gone through the financial documents, folks, and they have found out all of the millionaires and billionaires who are funding these right-wing lawsuits from the Republican Party to strip you of your right to vote. And let's name the names. You have John and Marlene Ricketts from TD Ameritrade, who have given $321,000. Frank and Jill Fertitta from Stations Casinos. Lorenzo and Teresa Fertitta, both of which couples have given $213,000. Kelsey and Amy Warren from Energy Transfer Partners. Isaac and Laura Perlmutter from Marvel Entertainment. Diane Hendricks from ABC Supply. Bernard and Wilma Marcus from Home Depot. James Davis from New Balance. John and Andrea Katsamatidis from Gristetis Foods United Refining Company, John Paulson from Paulson & Co., Philip Ruffin from Treasure Island Hotel and Casino, Linda McMahon from the WWE, Darwin Deason from Affiliated Computer Services, also known as Xerox, Andrew Beal from Beal Bank, Charles Schwab from Charles Schwab Corporation, James Dolan from Madison Square Garden Company, Stuart Rahr from Kinray, which is Cardinal Health, Warren Stevens from Stevens Incorporated, Joe Lyment from Trilogy Software and ESW Capital, Jude Reyes from Reyes Holdings, Christopher Reyes from Reyes Holdings, Ken Fisher from Fisher Investments, Richard LaFranc from LaFranc. That is a veritable who's who from different industries funding all of these right-wing websites to take away your rights. So why are they doing it? Why are these people willing to pay for these lawsuits through the Republican Party to take away your right to vote? Because they understand, just like Trump admitted not that long ago, that the more people turn out to vote, the worse it is for the Republican Party. If you actively go out there and you exercise your right to vote, Republicans are going to lose. Trump admitted it, and these people know it. And they're willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars apiece, millions of dollars collectively, to make sure that you don't do it. So I think the best way to honor that is to make sure that you do get out there and you vote. And you vote against every Republican that you can. Because that's the second part of it. It's not just get out there and vote. I am actively telling people to go out there and vote against Republicans. Notice the phrasing I use there. Vote against Republicans. I'm not telling you who to vote for or what to vote for. I'm just telling you what to vote against. Nevertheless, if they want to strip you of your right to vote, it means they're afraid of you. They're afraid of the power that you have. And the best way that you can preserve it and you can protect it is to exercise it. Because that power is essentially a muscle. If you're not going to exercise it, if you're not going to work it out, then you may as well let them take it away, because it's just going to be useless either way.
I am going to pause for a second. to take a short break while you listen to information regarding willpower and encouragement. It is all a matter of learning new behaviors. And please remember, it is easier to build strong minds than to repair injured people. What I said is a modification of a quote by Frederick Douglass. He said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Now for my break. Hello, this is Minister Gloria Lee from the Women of Courage Show. I want you to prepare to vote. That is correct. I want you to make up in your mind, come hell or high water, that you will vote in every election that is held in the state of Michigan, regardless of how long the voting lines are and regardless of the weather. Your vote is important. That is why you need to take some water with you and a small stool to sit on. Your vote will determine the property tax we pay, the car insurance that we pay, the housing that is available for seniors, the schools our children will attend. Your vote will determine the number of new job openings, the number of hospitals and hotels in our city. Your vote will determine the policies at our universities and the police force. Never assume that your vote does not count. Voting is the most essential activity that you will ever participate in your life. People have died so you can vote. Elections comes down to voter turnout, so stand in line and make your vote count. I would like for you now to listen to a short speech by John Lewis on voting. Listen to what he has to say and note the passion in his voice.
The Democratic National Convention has gavelled into session on this day 3, beginning about an hour ago. Let's go straight to the floor, where veteran Georgia Congressman and civil rights pioneer John Lewis is speaking.
Or do you want to keep America moving forward? My dear friends, your vote is precious, almost sacred. It is the most powerful non-violent tool we have to create a more perfect union. Not too long ago, people stood in unmovable lines. They had to pass a so-called literacy test, pay a poll tax. On one occasion, a man was asked to count the number of bubbles in a bar of soap. On another occasion, one was asked to count the jelly beans in a jar, all to keep them from casting their ballot. Today, it is unbelievable that there are Republican officials are trying to stop some people from voting. They're changing the rules, cutting polling hours and imposing a requirement intended to suppress the vote. The Republican leader in the Pennsylvania House even bragged that his state's new voter ID law is going to allow Governor Romney to win the state. That's not right, that's not fair, and that is not just. And similar efforts have been made in Texas, Ohio, Florida, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, and South Carolina. I've seen this before. I lived this before. Too many people struggled, suffered, and died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote. And we have come too far together to ever turn back. So Democrats, we must not be silent. We must stand up, and speak out. We must march to the polls like never, ever before. We must come together and exercise our sacred right. And together, on November 6th, we will re-elect the man who will lead America forward, President Barack Obama.
For the past 2 months, I have discussed breast cancer in Black women. Recently, it occurred to me that I had not heard from males in the area. Not one man had written or called me for information on breast cancer, nor has any male volunteered to help our breast cancer campaign. This caused me to wonder why. I hope the answer is not that males think breast cancer is a woman's issue. It's not. It's a family issue. It's a marriage issue. It's a community issue. It is an issue that concerns us all. The loss of one member of our community is devastating. Everyone is affected by the death, either directly or indirectly. The death of a parent can lead to angry children and devastated husbands. The death of a parent can lead a child to criminal behavior. Breast cancer is serious business, not just because of the death, but because of the aftermath, the horror breast cancer leaves behind. This is why, as a community, this disease must be fought at all costs by all of us. You have mothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, and granddaughters all at risk for breast cancer. Yes, women die of other diseases, but breast cancer is the most insidious disease of them all. I noticed I have not seen one man download the PDF file, Black Women and Breast Cancer, and send the file to any of his female relatives or friends for that matter. Why? You are concerned. So I would like for you to participate with me. Go to https://nisv.info and download the PDF file Black Women and Breast Cancer and send it to 5 of your friends. Also, please sit down and read the booklet. It's filled with information. One of the most important things about the disease is that we understand it. By understanding the disease, we can ask more informed questions of our doctors. Do you know how many people die or are injured each year because they take medication improperly? There is a reason why pharmacists insist on putting warning in our medication. This is why it's important that you learn to read. Medication errors are a problem with people who cannot read and or are afraid to ask their doctor questions because they don't want to appear stupid. When you go in to see your doctor, it's not your job to try to impress him or her. You want their talents to impress you. So if you don't understand something, say so, and ask all the questions you need to feel comfortable taking your medicine or understanding your illness. The same with your pharmacist. Ask him or her questions until you feel comfortable taking your medication and you know how to take your medication properly. I received a medication in the mail. I did not know how to take it. I read the directions, but it was not clear to me how to take the medication properly. I was truly frustrated because I knew I was a competent reader. I drove down to the VA medical center and asked the pharmacist to show me how to take my medication. The pharmacist didn't say a word, but she came out, sat down, and demonstrated how I was to take my medication. And she discussed the actions the medication would have on my body. I left her knowing more than I did when I arrived. On another occasion, I received a phone call from a pharmacist, and she told me immediately to stop taking 2 of my medication because there was a contradiction. Both medications had been prescribed by doctors, but it was the pharmacist who noted that error. So don't feel stupid asking questions of your doctor or pharmacist. That is their job, to help you with the care of your body. This is why the booklet Black Women and Breast Cancer is so important. It's filled with information. The information is presented in such a way as to make you aware of what you did not know or understand. This awareness should prompt you to ask questions of your physician. All cancers are not the same. This is why family history is so important. The booklet was also written to let Black women know that their cancer can be more virulent and more progressive than others. The book was also written to inspire Black women to become more involved in the research of their particular breast cancer. Who's doing the research? Where is the research being conducted? And how is this research being funded? And by whom? I believe we can have a significant breakthrough with cancer if Black women become more aggressive in funding research. Join us to support our campaign by purchasing a book. See our advertisement. We have great gifts for men.
Democratic Senator Joe Manchin's recent op-ed where he explained why he cannot support the For the People Act was complete garbage. And as the week has ticked on, we have learned a lot more about just how garbage that little piece written by Manchin truly is. One of the best pieces explaining why this happened came from Igor Darish over at Salon.com, where Mr. Darish explained that starting in 2012, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce actually stopped giving Joe Manchin money. And for, of course, our loyal Ring of Fire viewers here, you have heard us for many, many years talk about the evils of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, their lobbying activities, who they're funding, what they're doing. The whole thing is for right-wing corporatists to take over the government. And in 2012, they stopped giving money to Joe Manchin until earlier this year. In fact, until not that long ago. The corporate PAC of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which is funded by the executives at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, decided to make a donation to Joe Manchin. And wouldn't you know it, a short time later, he comes out with this op-ed saying, you know what? Suddenly, I don't support the For the People Act, even though 2 years ago, I actually co-sponsored a basically identical piece of legislation in the Senate. Now that, things have happened, I'm not so sure I agree with my own 2019 self anymore. So what's different between 2019 Joe Manchin and 2021 Joe Manchin? The corporate money. And it's not just from the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce, of course, is funded by all sorts of massive corporations, including those with connections to the Koch family. So yes, Joe Manchin and his corporate money is what made him flip on this particular issue that, again, 2 years ago, the guy was the champion of it. He had his name on the legislation, for God's sakes. But now, nothing. You get nothing. All because of Joe Manchin. One guy from West Virginia says no, so that's the way it is. Because that's how broken our idiotic system is here today. And all it took was one donation from the Chamber's Political Action Committee for Joe Manchin to forget who he was just 2 short years ago. The guy's a slimeball. The guy is just as bad, if not worse, than most every other Republican serving in that United States Senate today. The DNC needs to cut him off immediately. And after all, apparently he doesn't even need the DNC. He's got all of his corporate buddies to give him money. But it's time to kick Manchin out of the party. I know that means losing majority of the Senate, but as long as he's around, we don't have a majority in the Senate either way. Kick him out. Get rid of him. Tell him don't ever come back. We don't ever want to see you again. Because as I've also explained in the past, considering that Manchin loves to be a contrarian, kicking him out of the party might be the only way to actually get him to vote with the Democrats going forward. This is Hattie. Hattie wants to know why you have not subscribed to our channel. You obviously like our videos, so do us a favor and subscribe.
I am going to pause for a second to take a short break while you listen to information regarding willpower and encouragement. It is all a matter of learning new behaviors. And please remember, it is easier to build strong minds than to repair injured people. What I said is a modification of a quote by Frederick Douglass. He said, it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Now for my break. Hello, this is Minister Gloria Lee from the Women of Courage Show. I want you to prepare to vote. That is correct. I want you to make up in your mind, come hell or high water, that you will vote in every election that is held in the state of Michigan, regardless of how long the voting lines are and regardless of the weather. Your vote is important. That is why you need to take some water with you and a small stool to sit on. Your vote will determine the property tax we pay, the car insurance that we pay, the housing that is available for seniors, the schools our children will attend. Your vote will determine the number of new job openings, the number of hospitals and hotels in our city. Your vote will determine the policies at our universities and the police force. Never assume that your vote does not count. Voting is the most essential activity that you will ever participate in your life. People have died so you can vote. Elections comes down to voter turnout, so stand in line and make your vote count. I would like for you now to listen to a short speech by John Lewis on voting. Listen to what he has to say and note the passion in his voice.
The Democratic National Convention has gavelled into session on this day 3, beginning about an hour ago. Let's go straight to the floor, where veteran Georgia Congressman and civil rights pioneer John Lewis is speaking.
Or do you want to keep America moving forward? My dear friends, your vote is precious, almost sacred. It is the most powerful non-violent tool we have to create a more perfect union. Not too long ago, people stood in unmovable lines. They had to pass a so-called literacy test, pay a poll tax. On one occasion, a man was asked to count the number of bubbles in a bar of soap. On another occasion, one was asked to count the jelly beans in a jar, all to keep them from casting their ballot. Today, it is unbelievable that there are Republican officials are trying to stop some people from voting. They are changing the rules, cutting polling hours and imposing a requirement intended to suppress the vote. The Republican leader in the Pennsylvania House even bragged that his state's new voter ID law is going to allow Governor Romney to win the state. That's not right, that's not fair, and that is not just. And similar efforts have been made in Texas, Ohio, Florida, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, and South Carolina. I've seen this before. I lived this before. Too many people struggled, suffered, and died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote. We have come too far together to ever turn back. So Democrats, we must not be silent. We must stand up, and speak out. We must march to the polls like never, ever before. We must come together and exercise our sacred right. And together, on November 6th, we will re-elect the man who will lead America forward, President Barack Obama.
This is a discussion of the book Murdered Voices. The book is a testament to the victims of domestic violence and a call to society to stop it all. It is fact-filled with the purpose of revealing to everyone how deep it lies and how to uproot it. It tells us how to identify a perpetrator from his behavior and gives you the right skills to conduct the analysis. It also explains how victims can be recognized so that you can avoid being one of them. It finally gives a call to action to society through the Family Violence Prevention Fund to help victims after their encounter. Why should you read this book? Factual. The book contains a wide range of facts that relate to domestic violence, including the names of the victims and information on their incidences. The facts are meant to show the gravity and pervasiveness of the abuse and why these issues should be tackled. Problem solving. There is a fund, Family Violence Prevention Fund, that is meant to protect victims of domestic violence from their abusers. This helps in solving the problem as it is a call to action to the society to fight against domestic violence, and in so doing, help the victims such as abandoned children and orphans. Speaks out against domestic violence. Domestic violence is prevalent in our society, and yet it seems to have been downplayed or ignored. This book seeks to shed light on the matter with great details and meticulousness. Domestic violence is admonished and condemned, and a means to eradicate it is sought through every flip of a page in this book. Educating. Having the ability to discern earlier on that someone is violent or abusive is key to avoiding the problem altogether. Besides, prevention is better than cure. It is pointed out in this book how to see early warning signs and therefore hit the road before you're hit with the rod. Debunks myths. Misconceptions such as domestic violence is rare and women who are beaten are provocative are debunked and denounced in this book. In their stead, facts that are supported by evidence are brought to light to show why those myths should be discarded. Give solutions and answers. The problem is that domestic violence has become rampant. But what is the solution? Answers to this question are lodged deep in the book, focusing on what women, men, and society at large can do to rid the world of such a problem. Each and every reader can take a page from this book and aid in the fight against domestic violence. Gives meaningful predictions. Through various studies and research, the book can accurately point out who is likely to get abused or who is likely to be the perpetrator of the violence itself. A reader can notice an abuser from afar and avoid them. They can also prevent themselves from getting trapped in the violence. Fosters unity. The book calls every single person in society to come together to end domestic violence. Only if we come together, fathers, mothers, and children, can we comprehensively understand how to solve the problem. Together we speak up for the murdered voices. Touched by the Light Publishing is a leader in the world of books. We create meaningful moments for our readers by producing inspirational books to inspire people to go beyond what they have imagined for themselves and to go beyond what other people have prophesied into their lives. We believe men and women should dream. It is dreams that carry all of us into the future. When you stop dreaming, you have given up on life and the possibilities of what change can bring. You should visit touchedbythelight.us and learn what our books have to offer. Please watch our video on YouTube at Touched by the Light Publishing for the many ways we can help the community. We can be reached at murderedvoices@gmail.com.
Hi, I decided that at the end of every show for the next year, I would share excerpts from a book that I believe would enhance your life and make you a stronger thinker and problem solver. All characteristics that will help you win at life and raise stronger and healthy children. Many of you turn your nose up at reading, or you snub the advice that you must read in life to succeed, or you compare the cost of a book to getting a new pair of shoes or getting your hair done or your nails done. The reason why you make these cost comparisons is because you do not truly value a book. A book is a magnificent instrument that can change the course of your life and the lives of your children. In later shows, I plan to discuss with you how a book changed the lives of certain people. I understand that you do not earn a lot of money, and this money is valuable to you because of all the things you see advertised that you desire, and you do not want to spend a lot of money on a book. A new pair of shoes is more valuable to you than a book. If you truly cannot afford a book, then you need to go to the library and take your children with you for a day of reading. You must gird your loins and proceed at educating yourself. Some of you seem to think that having a conversation with your stupid girlfriend or your stupid boyfriend will help you more than reading a book, when actually having a conversation with your loudmouth girlfriend or loudmouth boyfriend is merely a cathartic, allowing you to blow off steam and proclaim how life has been so unfair to you. What you do not realize is that the advice coming from your do nothing girlfriend or your do nothing boyfriend is advice coming from a fool. Your do nothing girlfriend is a sexual opportunist looking for a man she can impress with her body. When her vagina fails her, what will your girlfriend do but go to work at McDonald's or Wendy's at the age of 60 and continue to spread her ignorance at church? Her daughter will be on the street and her son in prison. She will never realize that her life is the result of the decision she made not to educate herself through reading. All her life she felt that she had something better to do than reading. She had something better to do than reading with her children. She had something better to do than working with her children. And that was going to the bar, trying to entertain a man, or trying to find some man that would buy her a pair of shoes. A man spending money on her was more important than educating herself. In later shows, I'm going to spend a great deal of time giving you some examples of fools. These are people who think they are smart, willing to trade their body and integrity for a dollar bill. These people end up in the cemetery after lamenting each and every day of their lives about their unfulfilled dreams. Do not be upset by the use of the word fool. You tell me if a woman is not a fool to instruct her grandson to kill her husband for a $25,000 life insurance. Let that sink in for a moment. Instead of instructing her grandson to make something of his life, the grandmother instructs her grandson to become a murderer, to kill his grandfather. I have this anecdotal advice for you about reading. Listen to this short true story. A friend and I were talking. She said a woman she knew called her and sought to renew their friendship. During their conversation, the woman told my friend that President Trump had done so much for black people, and that's why she voted for him in 2016, and she was going to vote for him again in the upcoming election. My friend asked her a question. She said, "Tell me some of the things that Trump has done for black people." The woman said, "A whole lot." My friend persisted and asked her to name one thing that Trump had done for black people. The woman could not. The woman kept using the phrase, "a whole lot of things." My friend said after a while she stopped talking. Finally, the conversation was over and my friend hung up. My friend said, as she hung up, she made up her mind right then that she would never renew her friendship with this woman. Now ask yourself why. Why would she not renew her friendship with this woman? You can answer this question in 2 words. The woman was a poor thinker. She never investigated anything that was told to her. Whether you know it or not, a person who is a poor thinker, who does not examine his or her thinking, is a very dangerous person indeed. Think about it. Murdered Voices is not a murder mystery or a thriller where the victim is put on public display. Murdered Voices is a book that is the preamble to the examination of the murders of 252,287 American women, giving recognition to their lives. Murdered Voices is filled with information that is not commonly known, which we want to share with you. We want the American woman to believe something can be done to prevent the rapes and murders that are occurring across our country. Some of you may want to sit at home and pretend all is well, but every time your daughter walks out of your home, the possibilities that she may not return grows exponentially. The only chance she has to survive is if you stand up, become informed, and participate in the defense of yourself. Also, for you to say, my husband loves me in the face of adultery is comparable to committing suicide. There is nothing wrong with loving a man and being careful, but not foolish at the same time. Just because you are married does not mean your brain has to stop working. 2 plus 2 equals 4, whether you are married or single. The question is, why does he want to take a large life insurance policy out on your life? For example, the policies that were taken out on Miss Sherry Dolly, Miss Lena Dukes, Miss Treese Wilbury, Miss Marion Ills, Miss Carol Bruce, Miss Nanette Hanson, Miss Leslie Larson, Miss Kathy Frost, Miss Kathy Frost Larson. These women are all dead now. Their husbands took out large insurance policies on their lives. Their husbands took out large insurance policies on their lives, but the couple did not have any children. Would it not help you to know how other women were murdered in this country and the signs that led up to their deaths? Do you not think this information would improve your chances of survival? Murdered Voices is a book that should be read by women and men alike. The reason why this book should be read by men and women alike is because someday you will be a parent, and it is your instructions day in and day out that will save your child's life once they enter the world as adults. You must not insulate your children from the evils of the world. If you do this, your children will be ill prepared to protect themselves. Some people lie, some people cheat, and some people steal, and your children should know this and expect violence to be visited upon them at any moment by anyone, friend or foe. Murdered Voices discusses life and death in the most realistic terms. It is a frank discussion about the number of women being murdered in this country. Murdered Voices is not sentimentally read to tug at your heartstrings. The book offers a frank picture of what is occurring all over America. The sole purpose of the book Murdered Voices is to provide information as to how women are being murdered in this country and to offer information to help women protect themselves, both young and old. This information is food for thoughts for parents of young children. This is important information because women represent more than half of this country's population, yet they do not have the custody of their bodies, nor do they have political power to enact laws to govern their safety. Let me repeat this. The information that is being shared in the book Women of Courage is food for thought for both parents of young children. This is important information because women represent more than half of this country's population, yet they do not have custody of their bodies, nor do they have the political power to enact laws to govern their safety. Women must finally understand that violence is a necessary component to wielding control in a society, in a marriage, and violence is practiced every day by men seeking to maintain this control. Women must finally understand, unless they stand up, There will always be someone telling them what to do, directing the course of their lives, and guaranteeing the destruction of their daughters. Women must finally understand that their enslavement is tied to the nation's economy. I'm going to repeat this. Women must finally understand that violence is a necessary component to wielding control in society and in a marriage, and violence is practiced every day by men seeking to maintain this control. Women must finally understand unless they stand up, there will always be someone telling them what to do, directing the courses of their lives, and guaranteeing the destruction of their daughters. Women must finally understand that their enslavement is tied to the nation's economy. It is no accident that women are taught to be prejudiced against prostitutes. Society teaches you to dislike these women. Why should I care about a woman who sells her body? You should care because these women are forced into prostitution and the money made off their labor is being used to ensnare you and enslave you. It is no accident that women are smuggled into this country every day to be sold so men can make money. And it's no accident that women are taught it's more important to have a large buttocks or a big breast than have an expansive mind. Read Murdered Voices with an open mind. Granted, no one wants to learn about the murder of a woman and face the fact that we live in a violent nation. But it's better to know what is going on around you than to wake up one morning facing the death of your daughter on a college campus or the death of your elderly mother at the hands of a dope addict. Read and prepare to change your mind and become involved. Here are a few words from the author of the book Murdered Voices. During the publication of this book, I spoke to 3 men. Each man made a negative comment regarding the reading of the book. One man said that no one would read each individual name on the list in the book. The second man said no one would purchase the book because people were too busy worrying about money to read or to purchase a book. In hard times, no one buys books. What American woman would be interested in what I had to say and purchase the book? The third man said some of the books were too large, that no woman would take the time to read the books. He said the number of pages in each book would immediately turn women off. No woman or man would purchase a book consisting of 400 to 500 pages. Needless to say, I was disheartened for a second. Then I sat and thought about their comments. Their words were not complimentary to women or to people in general. There's nothing to life during hard times but meat and potatoes. Greatness has descended on the earth. Life was so brutal that reading could be ignored. I decided to persevere. These men had to be wrong. I continued to believe that reading, regardless of the number of pages in a book, is seen as an activity that enriches the soul and enlightens the mind, leading men and women to greater and greater heights and inventions. The fate of America will be decided by how well we nourish our minds and assimilate information to continue our growth. I decided that I shall continue to believe that people will see that reading leads to a better life. When you read, you can learn to eat healthier and to be a better manager of your money and life. Reading allows you to quickly prepare for a dinner party or help you impress a friend. When you read, you are open to adventure and confidence bathes your spirit. Reading is the commencement of light and the cessation of darkness. Reading is the activity that puts the soul to flight. If you desire a change in the status and wealth of your life, then reading is an activity that you can ill afford not to do. You can go to the website touchedbythelight.us and read the first chapter of this book. Murdered Voices will enhance your life. Our lessons are viewer supported. If you enjoy our lessons and they have been a help to you, please send the Women of Courage Show a donation. Any amount will help. $1 will help. Spread our message. You can also go to our website, touchedbythelight.us, and purchase the book, You Are the Prophet of Your Life. We support ourselves through book sales. The book is also on sale at the radio station WHPR 160 Victor Street in Highland Park, Michigan, right off of Woodward Avenue. If you do not have internet access, you can make a donation to us by mailing it to Post Office Box 7688, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan 48302. Your support will be greatly appreciated.
Congressman John Lewis is a living legend and an icon of the civil rights movement. A central focus of Lewis's activism has been the fight for the right to vote, a right that until 1965, generations of African Americans had been denied.
When John Lewis was a teenager, he read in a comic book about what Dr. King had been doing in Montgomery. And he went to his parents and he says, I want to be part of this.
By 1963, John Lewis had helped organize demonstrations and sit-ins across the South. When he was elected chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee that same year, he became one of the Big Six leaders of the civil rights movement and helped plan the March on Washington. At age 23, Lewis was the youngest person to speak at the event. But his most defining moment came 2 years later, when he turned his attention to voting rights and helped lead a dangerous civil rights march from Selma to Montgomery.
John Lewis was on the front lines of the 50-mile march, starting in Selma to Montgomery, demonstrating the murder of Jimmy Lee Jackson, a young African-American who was killed by a state trooper, but also the denial of African-Americans' right to vote across the South. If they could get the nation to zero in on Selma, Alabama, a place that had a large black population and very few African-Americans who were registered to vote, then perhaps there could be some action.
As activists marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, state troopers tear-gassed and beat them on what came to be known as Bloody Sunday. Lewis himself was severely beaten, suffering a fractured skull. 8 days after Bloody Sunday, President Lyndon Baines Johnson introduced the Voting Rights Act in Congress, and he would sign it into law in August 1965.
Today, we strike away the last major shackle of those fierce and ancient bonds.
The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was written on the road from Selma to Montgomery. The government responded and reacted to the power of the people.
John Lewis has helped secure the right to vote for millions of Americans. He's been on the front lines of the fight for civil rights for over 50 years. And the last time I checked, he was still fighting.
Too many people struggled, suffered, and died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote. And we have come too far together to ever turn back. We must stand up, and speak out.
Making an excuse is easy. The consequences are fussy. In fact, we always find ourselves failing to achieve our goals because we succeed in making excuses. The good news is, Gloria Lee has yet another book for you. The Cure You Need for a Change. What You Need to Win. The book title speaks it all. Reading its 276 pages is worth it. Be the first woman to read and inspire others. Go to touchedbythelight.us/regular-publications and get your copy now for only $14.95.
This video was brought to you by the Women and Children's Restoration Ministries. Why not email us at murderedvoices@gmail.com and learn about the programs we have to assist women to fulfill themselves. We welcome women who wish to participate. Surely you have a few hours each month to help us with one of the many programs we are developing. Your expertise will be greatly welcome. We believe that one of our programs, Returning Citizens, The Wall Project, Black Women and Breast Cancer, and Teach Someone to Read, will interest you, where you might volunteer once a month to help us. Our primary function is to assist women in changing their lives for the better. Please email us today at murdervoices@gmail.com. We will appreciate your help. Thank you. This video was brought to you by the Women and Children's Restoration Ministries. Why not email us at murderedvoices@gmail.com and learn about the programs we have to assist women. We welcome women who wish to participate. Surely you have a few hours each month to help us with one of our programs. We believe that one of our programs, Recruiting Citizens, The Wall Project, Black Women and Cancer, Teach Someone to Read, will interest you, where you might volunteer once a month to help us. Our primary function is to assist women in changing their lives. Email us today. We would appreciate your help. We enjoy your listening to the Women of Courage show at WHPR every Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. and every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. And we support your local hairstylist. Do not forget to go to touchedbythelight.us website and download a copy of the booklet, Black Women and Breast Cancer. This is very important information, and we would appreciate it if you email a copy of this booklet to 5 other women.